Welcome to Softsensors Thought Leadership webinar. Today, we have an august guest amongst us. We have Rajamma Krishnamurthy, who is the leader, Enterprise AI Strategy at Microsoft. She's just been recognized as the leader, one of the leaders in She Powers AI movement. Rajamma, would you want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Thank you. Thank you for the invite and thank you for letting me participate in your webinar. I've been in, let me just kind of go back a little bit. Before I got into this whole AI, I was an HR technologist, so working in HR technology for over 20 years. And I have been working in all aspects of HR technology. And when the whole OpenAI movement hit, there was a need for leaders who are working in the various aspects of enterprise to come and step into a role that is about enterprise AI. And so when I was asked, I was delighted because I had already been dabbling in ethics in AI quite a bit and working with a lot of non-for-profits to understand how AI can be equitably and fairly used across the whole world, and for specifically people who in my observation will be left behind if we are not thoughtful about it. So having been doing that, just to be asked to kind of step into a role that will ensure that I can have the tools to not let it happen, it was delight. And I'm doing enterprise AI. When I'm not doing all of this, I'm also passionate about teaching both the HR technology and AI. I teach a master's program at NYU focused on this subject. And so it's been wonderful to kind of learn alongside my students and actually create the future of work architects of the world. So when my children are going to work, they are going to be dealt with people that I teach. So hopefully I'm going to do justice by my kids.
That's so beautiful. And I'll come back to that, Rajamma. But before that, I just wanted to introduce our other speaker and guest here. So founder of Softsensor.ai, Vivek, who's been in the industry for more than 25 years, built multiple companies, consulted large organizations like JP Morgan Chase, American Express, been a partner with EY before starting the entrepreneurial journey again. He's one of the top 100 influential persons in the US as per Data IQ. Vivek, your turn to introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks, Deep. Thanks, Rajamma, for joining us today. And thank you, Deep, for the quick introduction. I've been in this industry for quite some time and have seen the journey starting with tools like SPSS, where we were primarily focused on very small data sets to really, today's concept of world as the data, where, we want to build machines which can learn from the world rather than, we kind of confining the data to what's being written or what's being, in a very, very specified format. So it's a very fascinating journey to see AI evolve over the period of time and truly become now so empowering and so, I would say, so pervasive that it's going to become hard for us to think that we can, do things without AI in tomorrow's world. So I'm pretty excited. I believe that there are, excellent use cases for it across the real world, which are going to really, lead to a significant transformation in the world, not just in the developed countries, but really, across the world and, spreading the knowledge, spreading the ability of, lifting people up to do better jobs, better work. So pretty excited about that. Besides some of my entrepreneurial journey, I am also, involved in, some of the teaching aspects like Rajamma. So I think we share some similar interests. So it would be good to kind of, know more about that. So we look forward to it.
Thanks, Vivek. Really happy to have this kind of a forum where we can get these thought leaders together. And right now picking on the theme which has emerged from both these introductions and coming back to you, Rajamma, the aspiring professionals, they often look up to thought leaders for guidance. And I personally feel that thought leaders, they need to actively engage in mentorship and knowledge sharing so as to nurture the next generation, and especially in this field of data and AI, which is so critical today. And we know corporate life is not easy. I still remember those daily 18-hour days with you in office, Rajamma, And that went on for weeks during those critical launches. But those things, they haven't stopped. And on top of it, your involvement with NYU, it just takes it to a different level. So how did you decide to move on this path, and how are you able to balance your busy corporate career with this big responsibility?
It was very simple. What happens when you're working in the corporate is that you're constantly in the daily humdrum of, I, especially as a product leader, you will have products that need to ship, products that need to release, having conversations with your clients, customers within the company, and so on. But then you forget, is that you forget to learn. And the only way to learn, and I figured out, is that I'm very lazy when it comes to learning. So if I didn't put myself through some kind of other grind, I would not learn. And so when NYU asked me to come in and actually be on their advisory board to advise on the curriculum of HR technology, and at that time AI wasn't such a big deal. But I mean, AI existed, but it wasn't the pet child as it is right now. But it was a no-brainer for me. I'm like, oh my God, I learned something. And so I went in and I started working with them. And then very soon, as I started advising, I realized that I have a passion for teaching. I have a passion for, whatever I'm advising in terms of curriculum, that I want to translate into lessons and sit down with the students. More importantly, I also realized through the curriculum that, universities and colleges are starting to kind of move away from the age-old teach everything out of books and make it theoretical and, kind of do that kind of work. Instead, I wanted the students to be able to come and meet the practical world. And the only way to do it was to translate what I do in my daily life into lessons that I can actually give to the students. And but not the least, I really like being called professor. So it actually goes well. It was an ego thing too, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I think this constant theme which is emerging of how the thought leaders, they are on a continuous learning path. This is really amazing. And Vivek, you also have been involved with a lot of prestigious institutions recently with the IIM's, the Indian Institute of Management, and you're also writing a book on the new age analytics. The question to you is not so much about the time, it's more about the impact, which Rajamma also so beautifully articulated. How do you think these things will shape the next generation of thought leaders?
I think it's a very, very interesting question that you're asking. And I would say that definitely, firstly, I believe that practice should meet the teaching. And I think glad that Rajamma, you are participating, such a closely with NYU and teaching directly. And I think that to create, new thought leaders, we need like practice meet the students. And that's where they can find what are the new problems to work on, what are the new ideas to carry forward, what are the new challenges. And, I think I would love to kind of, Rajamma, this is a very, very interesting discussion, because I would love to discuss some time. And maybe, this is that, I see that HR technology in the past had a role to play in management of, human intelligence, okay, or human resources and human intelligence. And in the today's world, I wrote an article, a small piece, when AI is now no longer the factual, it's actually an intelligence outcome, okay? Intelligence outcome can have a variety of points. It could be different. Two intelligent beings can say two things differently. Okay, both of them could be accurate, but they are two very different point of view. So in my view, these models who are going to be trained differently, who are going to have different point of views, because if everybody is trained similarly, then you would have a problem of groupthink in the models, okay? But if suppose all the models are going to think differently, and there is no truth which could be established centrally, it is so I see a new problem that would require leaders in HR to kind of opine on really a very, very technical topic of, how do you manage truth, single source of truthful intelligence, now manage some of these AI personalities, which are not human beings, but they have a different point of views, and organization still needs to function with different point of views. So what should be the new set of procedure laws in the company that are going to determine, which model is speaking the truth and which is not. So it's going to be interesting interplay between HR and AI, if you were to say, balancing some of these different point of views. So I believe that, discussing some of these questions, which could be ahead of time, combined with practice, in a really good university setting, is the key to, establish debate, establish, next generation of, thinkers, So glad, that you like me teaching, and I think thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to some of these discussions.
Absolutely. Great. No, I think that's a good way of looking at it, and interesting that you bring up the role of HR, where we have Rajamma, who not only is one of the thought leaders in this data and AI space, but has worked closely with HR for decades and has a complete understanding and is the right person. So Rajamma, like the way I look at it is that just before it became conventional wisdom, leaders like Satya, they had the foresight to judge the direction where AI was going. From your perspective, and with your experience working with HR and now at a much broader strategic level, and as a practitioner, what is the kind of vision you have for the future of data and AI, and what role do you see other leaders in this area playing in shaping that future?
That's a great question, Deep. Let me kind of parse this question into a few things. One is data and AI. Look, we all know that data and AI both existed for quite some time now. It's not that, over the last year that GPT came and everybody got excited about it, but data and AI existed, and they were being used a little bit across various enterprise scenarios for quite some time now. And I'm going to focus on enterprise scenarios for your question for right now, and we will expand on it into other areas if you have any questions related to others. But in terms of the opportunities that are available, the way I think of AI, and I have used this multiple times, I'm just going to copyright it now, is that I think of AI as your caddy. And, we all talk about it as a co-pilot. I think of it as a caddy. It is actually carrying your golf clubs. It's kind of dragging everything. It is going to give you some suggestions on, hold this or hit there. And if you've already hit the ball in the bunker, here are some ideas how to kind of move the ball out of the bunker and so on. But the end part, which is the human being, is the one that needs to make a decision about, which iron I'm going to take, how far I'm going to swing it, and what I'm going to do with that ball, whether it's going to be hole in the one or otherwise. I think what these leaders recognized is that we all need our caddies. We have been far too many times, so deep in stuff that we have forgotten that we have a ball to hit and we have to make that hole in one. And the most of the enterprise level, work for us has become such a drudgery that, people have lost their sense of purpose as to what we are doing. It has become more like, we have to do this because that's how it's become more, our job has become more machine-like the way we have been delivering. So as Japanese say, the ikigai of our work has been lost. The purpose of our work has been lost. And so this joy in our work is to, hey, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to think about something new. That time and the space was not available. So that is why we need these kind of tools to help us do all the mundane stuff, to be able to create content easily, to be able to bring in content together much easily, to add content and data quite well, and to be able to do all of that, which we could have done it, but really, do we need to use our brains to do it? Let's kind of use our brains to kind of think about the next best thing and the next places to go. So I think of it as, I've never played golf in my life. So this is, so it's funny that I should actually say this. Anyone sees me playing golf, they'll probably have a heart attack just looking at it. But But the thing is that I think of that golfer that I want to be, that I want to be able to have this caddy along with me, or my personal assistant along with me, that it takes care of my drudgery part of my work so that I have the space to think and do something more beautiful and have a different sense of purpose in the work that I'm doing. So that's where I'm thinking about it.
Great. I think the sense of purpose is a beautiful objective. I think if one is able to achieve, and beautifully put. And I was about to ask you that since when have you started taking interest in golf? When you started with the caddy analogy, I said, yeah, it's a beautiful analogy. And I knew you enough, but I didn't know that you had started playing golf. But okay, so you clarified. Thank you for that.
You'll never catch me there. Sorry.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So, great points there. Great points there. And I think like extending the analogy and talking about it and thinking about how I could take it to what Rajamma was saying at an enterprise level. So, Vivek, coming to you, you're working with multiple organizations and you're working for implementing very, very advanced LLM solutions. Now, what would enable the organizations, the CXOs, to maximize the benefits of these kind of AI-driven technologies? So how, what is your view on how these CXOs will be able to get the best out of these technologies?
So I think, Deep, that's a fantastic question. I think Rajamma already kind of, gave one point of view how it's enabling her, and she being part of such a large organization. It starts right from there that, I would put it like, saying, how do we make people like Rajamma and, people within the company more productive? So that's a very individual level productive tool view, which is, fits right well into the Office 365 strategy, that is, how do I enable individual productivity to go up? You can see GitHub Copilots. You can see the Copilots coming in the some of the tools. They're all kind of helping individuals to become more productive. And I think that use case is extremely clear, extremely useful, because you're using AI to do a lot of things that you would have done otherwise, or you would have struggled to do otherwise, or you would have never done that otherwise. Some of the things you would probably never even imagine to do. But now with the AI support and Copilot support and some of the Office 365 tools, you can actually do more. So I think that's kind of one part where the use case is very, very clear, where there is individual productivity improvement. And I've seen it at multiple places, be it marketing executives, be it sales executives, be it, individual programmers, developers, case writers, unit case writers, all of them are kind of, at the adopting it in some shape and form. And I think it's a brilliant use case. I think it's going to continue. The area where you are seeing a lot of prototypes being done is, how do you really do the new kind of search? How do you really start talking to these large amounts of organizational data which is lying inside today? And the traditional search, which was, you could say basic search, then you can have elastic search, versus now you can have, a lot more sophisticated searches in the data. And in fact, you can make the data talk to you. Is something that's emerging as another interesting use case where you use technologies like retrieval augmented, generation, where you are not just depending only on, the intrinsic memory of tools like OpenAI GPT-4 or OpenAI GPT 3.5. But going ahead and either combining that with, organizational data sets in a vector form, or you are actually, adding more into that by I would say, by even fine tuning. Today, OpenAI 3.5 is now you can fine tune on the, some of the questions that you have. So I think that's the second level of, I would say organizational adoption that I would see. I think the third level of organizational adoption that I'm seeing right now, where people are already piloting in, and like, I see a lot of RFPs and a lot of customer demand coming. It's really, replacing some of the conversations, when customers are calling in, the chatbots, the voice to customer interface, the multilingual. See, multilingual was a big deal earlier. How do you really now take multilingual to ease, So those technologies are going to get getting adopted faster now. I see a lot of customers showing production level interest into that, and they're willing to spend money, they're willing to spend idea, they're willing to spend time. So I'm just giving you like three flavors where I see this very quick, but there are many others. I see in image search, I see in medicine is going to change drastically. I see all of that, but again, uh, there are plenty of use cases, but from a broad normal organization standpoint, these three are, in my view, top ones which I see in the market, with 80 to 90% of ask.
Okay. No, I think you brought it up beautifully, and I come back to this because there's another aspect of it which I want to talk about in terms of how the organizations are. You talked of RFP, so I want to go there a bit. But before that, I want to pick up on one of the thread which Rajamma had initiated, the caddy one. And while I like the analogy, I also like the analogy which Satya speaks about. He talks about AI supported by humans, or human in the loop. So he talks about the co-pilot in that sense, and he talks about how the data and AI often intersect with other fields and ethics, law, and economics. While that is all great, and we are all putting in a lot of kind of effort in all this integration, but at a more enterprise level, Rajamma, how do you think we can bridge these interdisciplinary gaps on the one hand, while on the other hand, we are still able to manage the costs? So all the organizations, they want to go in this direction, but the moment you talk about these big enterprise cases and you want to integrate all these things, balance all these things, have your caddy ready or the co-pilot ready, everything in place, but within those constraints of the cost which the organization has already set out. So what do you think about that?
That's a wonderful question, and this is something that when I talk to customers, they ask me. That's why I called out. One of the things that we need to worry about is this whole ramping of any enterprise into AI. I remember those days when enterprises were like, "What is cloud? Do you mean I actually hand over my data to you?" And now we don't talk about it anymore. I think we are in the cloud, the initial cloud phase of the AI phase right now. Basically, that's the same story right now. So, I don't think it's like what 10, 15 years now. I can't even remember when the whole cloud story started. You probably will do, but now we are here. I think earlier Vivek called it out, which is we don't have a choice. I don't think any enterprise has a choice to say that, no, you know what, I'm going to stay on premise, or I'm going to stay without AI or something like that. So I think we are going to, it's going to be part of everything that we do. And in fact, it is part of everything we do. Today, if you start typing something into your text, which your children, they refuse to pick up the phone and answer. I think Deep knows that. He's got 2 college-going kids. So when you're texting, it helps you. Like before you know it, whether it's right or wrong, it is doing something, and you have become used to having that caddy in your life that is just like helping you talk to your children. So we are in that space quite a bit, and so now the question becomes, how do enterprises make sure that we are all heading into AI without having to get a whole lot of overhead, and making sure that we are still successful, and on the other end we are actually getting the benefit of AI. What those could be is in efficiencies, in productivity, in engagement, in customer engagements, and in your bottom line improving, right? That's what the enterprises want. Now to do that, you have to spend some time and energy now. People call it AI governance, people call it, nerve centers, people call whatever, to kind of create a central body in every enterprise to start thinking about where all you would want to apply AI. How do you want to bring it in? What models do you want to worry about? I think earlier we had this discussion about a model could be talking differently, one model could come up with another outcome, another model could, like two individuals having different kind of opinions on the same matter. How do you avoid that kind of dissonance in the organization? All of this needs to be instilled in through AI governance throughout the company. And if you're using a particular data to train a model to kind of give an outcome, you need to make sure that there is not another dissonant model that is doing the same thing from an outcome perspective and so on. So all of that will come from governance. And that is something that every company needs to invest in. Another part of all of it is that everyone thinks that AI is expensive. And we have a very broad notion of what AI is, and most of it is about OpenAI. OpenAI is it's taking a lot of GPUs and making a lot of turns of the wheels to kind of get you the outcomes. But AI is all not expensive, and not everything needs to be solved by AI when you have an AI-based solution in your enterprise. So you could have this, if you have an orchestrator that knows that here I just have to do a search, or here I just have to query their data. Here I have to go and do an LLM. And here I have, so everything, it has its purpose, and we need to not run. It's like, I love analogies. So, you don't have to bring a plane and park it in your garage just because you can, bring a plane and park it in your garage. If you want to, there are times that you need a cycle, and there are times that you need a plane, and you just got to drive that right vehicle when you need it. And to me, LLMs and those things which cost you a lot more will be those planes that you want to fly when you need them. But then you can do very well with other things in the AI, and those are lesser forms of AI that will not need to kind of be. But you need to think about what that is that you want to fly when you need them. But then you can do very well with other things in the AI, and those are lesser forms of AI that will not need to kind of be. But you need to think about what that is, fullness, and setting up the framework now before you jump in both with you'll flood your enterprise with applications that are doing exactly opposite of what you want it to be doing.
Beautifully put, Rajamma. Beautifully, and having a consolidated strategy at an organization level is the first step. And jumping into something because that's the hype they see in the market is certainly not the way. So beautifully brought out. And I'm continuing on the same thread, Vivek, if I were to ask you, because you are responding to a lot of these customer needs. So are you seeing the customers, they are clear in their ask when they're looking for these latest AI model deployments and what have you? So what is it that you are seeing from your vantage point?
So I think first of all, Rajamma pretty rightly put the AI governance framework is needed, and I think that's kind of, I really believe that this AI governance framework, because the dissonance needs to be thought from an HR perspective as well, not just from a technology perspective. So it's going to be very interesting to see how do you really, combine the HR with, AI governance. So that's kind of an interesting play. I would see that. Deep, just to kind of, give a little bit, I'll digress a little bit before I jump into the question that you asked, that is that, one of the major areas, Rajamma, where we are focusing and which we call as Softsensor.ai, we are basically building a framework, decision-making framework, and where the soft sensors are the neural ecosystem of the organization. And that's where I think we are trying to plug in the tools and technologies as needed. So I think that's where some of the points that you just mentioned are pretty interesting, and I see them evolving as we build out, roll out some of those use cases with the technology that we have. And Deep, I think when customers are asking, the question is, why are they asking? Is the board asking them? Are the clients, customers asking them? So I think everybody sees the writing on the wall that, human beings by design will gravitate towards, lower energy state, in the sense that, if I have to spend less energy, I'll do that, maintain energy. So, and that's by our own biological design. So customers are asking for it, so it's not that customers are not asking. Customers are afraid that if they don't adopt, okay, and somebody else adopts, either they are going to have cost advantages, they are going to have strategic advantages, they are going to have, advantages in the marketplace, which, they would be difficult to beat. And I agree with them because there is a journey, there's a learning curve, there's a tradition, there's a lot of vested effort before you can arrive, in some of these solutions, which being, really getting adopted. So I think, I think, do the customers have maturity? Even the technology itself doesn't have maturity. Customers' questions are right. Okay, they are asking very mature questions. And the technical architects, the people who are solving the customer problems, they need to adopt a framework which is, hey, uh, do you have the right data? Do you have the right tools? Can you deploy it well? Do you have are you going to fine tune? Are you going to do drag? Are you going to do something? So there are a lot of these questions which a seasoned guy should be able to answer for the customer, to give them the right questions also. And as Rajamma said, that, there's a cost benefit to everything. There's a state of your own organization. So I don't think customers are asking not the right questions, but do they have the right knowledge for adopting it? Do they have right processes to adopt it? Is a very, very important thing, is a very important thing. There's a lack of, I would say, definitely there's a lack of architects, who can really customize these things and do, organizational architecture of the customer. And in this organizational architecture has to be both technical as well as, very strongly, how do they decide, how do they run their customers, what are the liabilities, what's the cost of a wrong decision, what's the cost of a right decision. All of those things need to be taken accounted for.
Yeah, beautifully put. And I think integrating what you just said with what Rajamma was talking about, the frameworks, and your point about the technology itself not being mature and evolving at a fast pace. I think this is probably going to be a journey, is what I am taking away as the message. So yeah, this is going to be a journey, and uh, probably the need of the hour is for the technical architects to stay ahead and try to provide those kind of solutions and guidance to those organization leaders who are right now looking for these solutions. Yep.
Yeah, this is not a, I would say, this is not a problem where you can just hire 5 execution people and then decide. This is a problem that needs to be thought through, because in my view, in some industries, it can be make or break,
Mhm.
So in some industries, you cannot just survive without it. In some industries, it will take time for it to come and hit you. Okay, but no industry is aloof. Look at what happened yesterday in medical space. Like, you will see headlines coming out like, a lady figuring out the reason for pain of her child, when 17 doctors could not. And imagine, medical world being extremely protected by FDA, and we are giving tools in the hand of customer, the world's knowledge in the hands of customer, today. Imagine, these, I don't know, today we are talking about trillion parameter models. Today we are talking about 22,000 H100 training. So when those things are accessible to end customer and they can ask the questions, the organizations better be ready, to respond in time. So they need to really, adapt. Everybody has to adapt. It's a question how, who, when,
The doctors are already annoyed enough with the people, going and looking at Wikipedias and coming back with, doctor, I have this and this and this. Can you just give me medicine for that? Instead of saying what it is that you have, and everybody comes up with the worst disease possible to go and because they have read all the Wikipedia about everything, and then they know that that's what it's caused. The problem is, so you can imagine what will happen now with AI. So it's happened. I think
Rajamma, it's very interesting, and I'm sure you're teaching a class, so you would know. So there's a very recently a Wharton study came out, actually, in which they took a bunch of MBA students and tried to find out who is more innovative, ChatGPT or the students, and surprising, the ChatGPT came out to be like, but it's clearing out the bar exam. So we are in a very, very see. I think the individual productivity case, the knowledge base case is very clear. The challenging part is how can organizations tap into that energy, that power, and really fit it into what you call as organizational constraint, which is includes liability, being right 100% of the time, not quitting. There are a lot of laws, legal boundaries that our organization has to face.
I actually want to pick up some questions which are coming in the chat. So let me pick one from there. Yeah. So it's a good, interesting question. And I'll actually let both of you answer one after the other. So first, Rajamma, in your experience, have you come across examples of real-world applications where data and AI have brought about significant positive change?
Interestingly, what got me drawn to AI was not about HR. It was about ethical AI, and I got connected to a lot of people that were working in that space, especially non-for-profit agencies. But what got me, really curious about AI was the opportunities, that it could provide in areas that I'm truly interested in, which is sustainability, education. And I saw that, imagine the power of all of the information that we have about, the energy costs, the paths we take, the geography of the region, all of that, and sum it up all into some, AI algorithms and come out with like the most sustainable way to take goods from one place to another. Simple thing, right? Like, we have all been trying to solve the transportation problem for a long time, right? But imagine converting it into carbon footprint and kind of solving for it, and those kind of things really make me happy. Imagine, recent issue, with wildfires and flooding and so on. How can we start predicting those even better? How can we not just save human lives, but save the environment doing that? And those are some of the things that attract. And that is where I want to see AI used more, and obviously education. And you would say as a professor, well, how do you deal with ChatGPT and, all of that? I do believe in the power of human in the loop. There is, if you're going to be such a low energy student that you're going to take whatever that is coming out of ChatGPT and putting it into the answer and, you deserve to be, at least you made that, copy paste. So you get that much. But if you should use ChatGPT I'm probably going to cause really a rebellion in terms of education, but I think
your students are going to be happy, Rajamma.
Yeah, my students I told them, I'm like, you should be able to use ChatGPT because you should go research like you would have researched in a library. You should make up your own mind about what you're reading and then come back with an answer. Even if you take the language, that's the least of the problems. But more importantly, what is your opinion? Form an opinion, and that is what the human in the loop is. And that is where I think, yes, it's probably saved the student, like all that library scanning or searching and all of that stuff. But so what? But if you're just going to take verbatim what ChatGPT tells you, then, God help you in terms of what will happen for you in the future. But I do believe that these are great tools. And one of the things that I see AI helping is actually being a very personalized teacher for you. How many of us would like to have a caddy who is your teacher? Basically, personalized coaching. You're making a mistake here. A teacher, especially in third world countries, such as the one that I come from and you come from, Deep and Vivek, we all know that we were classes of 40, 50 students, and the teachers were struggling to kind of make sure that the students could learn. What if these tools can actually help the students, be a little bit better because they are kind of giving that personalized coaching to them. So I do believe, and where teachers aren't even there in the world. There is quite a lot of pockets in the world where we won't even find enough teachers to kind of teach the class. There's one teacher that is teaching all the way from grade 1 to grade 10 and so on. So let's start figuring out where these AI could be applied in those places, in sustainability, in education, and in preventing these catastrophes from happening in the first place. I think I would love that. Then the world go into that place. HR is great, but that's not where my head is at and my heart is at when it comes to AI.
Oh, thanks, Rajamma. And interesting you brought about sustainability, because just before this webinar, Vivek and myself, we were just discussing about some of the initiatives in this area. So beautiful. And yeah, so both sustainability education, both being such important and critical areas. Yes. Vivek, from your perspective, and again, same question, how you've been able to positively influence some of these customers using AI?
So, I think the as we are building the systems, as we are building some of the alert-based systems, as we are building some of the search systems, it's natural to see productivity improvements, business improvements, ROIs coming from that. Tremendous amount of profit transformation. The large corporations, who are losing, let's say, billions of dollars in write-offs, being able to, decide their policies better, being able to help their customers, really manage their finances better. So there are, multiple use cases by which we will see, we have seen like AI getting play a role in like, improving the outcomes. But, many of these cases, it was very difficult to create an outreach because outreaches are extremely expensive. So as Rajamma pointed out, the personalized teaching part, the personalized outreach part, so that's where I see that when organizations have a treatment action, they can actually create a personalized outreach plan to customers. If I want to get a customer out of debt, if I want to really help them manage their finances better, can I really, create, let's say, I'll just use the word on a credit card alone. I'll say, hey, is this really a good decision to spend, or, are there better ways to spend the same money? So, we will see a lot more personalized outreach. One of the large use cases that I came across where I would really kind of talk about from a sustainability standpoint, Rajamma, was, a company called Plantix, based out of Europe. And they created an app, and I'm talking about like 5-7 years back. I'm not talking about today. They've been there for that time, in which a farmer in India can take a picture of any crop, upload the picture, and get an outcome like whether the plant has a disease, nutrition deficiency, all of this. So we will see a lot more intervention at a very, very large scale. The gap between the informed and non-informed can be bridged significantly, See, why some people do better and then some people not? It's not just because of anything else, but because of the lack of, being informed and lack of, getting that slight edge and a push, to do the right action. So I believe that this whole personalized AI will be a people enabler from that perspective. Beyond organization, I'm telling you, yeah.
I think that's a fantastic thought, Vivek, and that's how I see that AI is going to, if used correctly. And again, this is all like when I'm going to use one more analogy, and I'm done with the analogies, I promise, Deep, is that, I don't know, have you all watched Home Alone, the movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was presenting at another conference a couple of days ago, and the person that was presenting with me, one of my very closest friends, actually was using this as an analogy. Basically, we are all like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, where all the AI producers today, all the product developers in AI, because there is no adults. We haven't created the regulations. We haven't done everything that is right to kind of do. So we are all home alone eating ice cream and, doing whatever. And that we need to create that discipline. We need to be able to regulate ourselves because that is why I keep like wanting to say that if we do this right, then, and if it make AI accessible to every human being for every opportunity that they will ever need, from in all parts of their being, from work, life, everywhere. I think this will be the most beautiful thing that hit the planet Earth in the last few centuries, I would think, because I don't think that we have ever made opportunities so democratized, ever. And this is it. That is why it is so important that we do it right at the first time.
Yeah, and we don't need any burglars in the Home Alone scenario.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, beautiful analogy. Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I'm just taking one more question from the chat. This is about the common misconceptions or pitfalls that individuals and organizations they encounter in data and AI journey, and how can we help them navigate? So, Rajamma, do you have any kind of pointers for the audience? Yeah.
I think it's shifting rapidly. These common misconceptions and pitfalls. I think, and most of that is coming because of the education. And people are educating themselves, and they're getting better at working through these misconceptions. It was see if you just do research and go to the enterprise and say how many people would love to use AI, there'll be 80% that say yes, great, lovely. How many people fear AI, that it'll actually make a difference to your job, your career, your life, and so on? They'll say 60%. So there is that overlap of people that are actually both fearful and excited about AI. And most of those come from the misconceptions of what it can do and what it could actually impact. And they're both right. And then the reason is that, like every tool, the way you use it will determine the outcome of that tool. So there is a lot of onus on people like us who are putting products out there, who are thinking about these products, who are designing it, to start thinking about how do you kind of get the assure people that this is going to be a good thing for them. How do you ensure that everybody benefits out of this? And how do you make sure that you take their feedback all the time and you always give them an option to opt out? That you don't always let them like this is the only vehicle you can go on and there is no other way to kind of get to the outcome. I think for both people that are directly impacted and people that you didn't even think will be impacted by this. And so we need to always think about all the stakeholders, as we call them, that are going to be your direct stakeholders and the indirect stakeholders, and make sure that you're fair and inclusive about how you create your products.
Which kind of brings us back to your initial point you made, Rajamma, about having that overall framework and an organizational strategy before jumping into it. So
Yeah.
I guess it all fits in there because all these are going to be components in there, right?
Absolutely. So part of the governance is to use AI responsibly. And so the organization needs to set yourself some principles as to what responsible AI means in my organization. How do you ensure that every human being, or whether direct or indirect, gets impacted and in a good way, and nobody's left behind? That narrative needs to come out of every product that you're creating. Similar to how we were talking about accessibility, not so every a tool to be used by every people of all abilities. Here too, this AI opportunities to be, taken advantage of people of all abilities in this way. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I know that we are at time, but Vivek, there is a very someone is pleading that this question needs to be asked, and this person is one of the senior executives who's asking that from your perspective, how can key organization leaders create a business case for AI implementation?
I think that's a very, very fair question, and I think the business case is very clear in terms of, hey, we have to walk this journey. So that I think that part is very clear. So that means that organization leader needs to educate themselves. They need to definitely educate what their business is, how impacted this business will be from the AI. That means that the services that they are offering, how they will be consumed tomorrow by consumers. So those kind of insights you need to bring out early on. I think after that, I think it's very important for the organization to create some realistic path. I think as Rajamma said, there has to be a organized strategy and all, but there has to be a realistic path as to where you are today, okay, and where you want to be. Let's not get carried away that that AI can do everything. That's one extreme, and there is another extreme, and hey, AI cannot do anything. It's all junk. So there are like these two extremes, but in between, it's important to find what I would call as incremental both human productivity goals. So that means definitely, can I improve and up my organizational productivity? So for example, adopting some of these, very, very individual productivity tools like Copilot, etc. It's a very easy decision. It's not a complex decision. Okay. For the business case, for really making live production systems out of LLMs, the case should not just be based on, yeah, I'm going to reduce the cost by firing these many people. I think the case should really be based on that. What is the impact it's going to add to my customer's life? What do I see in terms of their consumption patterns? What do I see in terms of their lifetime value? What do I see in terms of their, stickiness? And in my view, if you are not just driving your organization AI adoption by cases are not just by driving by cost reduction of, some people, I think you will do a fairly good job, arriving at a very, very good strategic vision. In my view, that's the key.
Thanks, Vivek. And Rajamma, anything from your perspective on this?
No, I think I think like anything else that you jump into when it comes to technology, be thoughtful, because it'll go a long way in how you make the difference to both your employees and your customers. So start creating that the roadway, the pathway, the strategy right now. Create that framework, create the governance body. I mean, I know governance is a ugly word in most companies, but here you absolutely need that because when not used correctly, you may impact incorrectly, and that is not something that you were intending to do. So take the time. It's a very exciting time for everybody. So when you're getting on this journey, be thoughtful. That's all I would say to any enterprise at this point.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Rajamma. Really thankful to you, especially coming in late evening on a Friday and spending time. And thanks, Vivek. Really thankful to both of you for your time and really thoughtful answers and even reply to the chat despite going over time. So it's really, really thankful to you. So we summarize the discussion points and we post it along with the video of this webinar. But really thankful to you. And for those who are watching and for those who are going to be watching the video, I'll also be posting the link to the Softsensor website, which is simple, www.softsensor.ai. And it will be there in the description below. But thank you. It was great talking to both of you. Would love to talk again maybe after some time. And as we were talking, the technology matures and this whole environment moves to a different level of maturity. And we have way more positive cases to talk about and way more use cases which we would be talking about. So look forward to that and thank you again.